Today, we will complete talking about the importance of sunlight to living organisms. Living organisms classification according to the way of their feeding. Living organisms are classified according to the way of their feeding into producers, consumers, and decomposers. Producers. They are living organisms that can make their own food by photosynthesis process. So, sunlight is very important to producer to make its own food by photosynthesis process. Due to in photosynthesis process, leaves absorb sunlight by chloroplasts. So sunlight is very important to producers, and producers are living organisms that can make their own food by photosynthesis process. As we say, producers are living organisms that can make their own food by themselves. They don't depend on any living organism to make their food. They make their food by photosynthesis process. Example of producers: green plants, green algae, some types of bacteria. So, green plants, green algae, and some types of bacteria are producers. Why? Due to it depends only on themselves to make its own food by photosynthesis process. They don't depend on any living organism to make its own food. The second type of living organisms are consumers. Consumers, they are living organisms that depend on producer directly or indirectly to get their food. They are depend on producers directly or indirectly to get their food. They can't make food by photosynthesis process due to consumers don't have chloroplasts. They can't make photosynthesis process. They depend on producers to make their food. As we say, consumers depend on producers directly or indirectly to make them food. So, types of consumers. Consumers feed on producers directly, as cows, sheep, chickens, human, and human, due to human eat plants, and plants are producers. So, cows, sheep, chickens, human are consumers that depend directly on producers to have food. The second type of consumers feed on consumers, as lions, hook, snake, human, human due to human eat animals like rabbits, like cow, like sheep. These consumers feed on producers indirectly due to they feed on consumers that feed on producers, such as rabbits or sheep or cows. So, these types of consumers depend on producers indirectly to have food. Why? Due to they feed on consumers that feed or depend on producers to make its own food. The third type of living organisms is decomposers. Decomposers are living organisms that can't make their food by themselves. They get their food by decomposing the organic wastes as dead body or remains food. They can't make their own food. They can't feed on living organisms, such as producers or consumers. They get their own food by decomposing on the organic wastes as dead bodies or remain of food. Examples of decomposers. Some types of bacteria, as yogurt bacteria, and it's a good decomposers. We can eat it. And some types of fungi, as yeast fungus and bread mold fungus. And it's harmful decomposers. It's poisonous decomposers. And when we want get rid of it, we must wear gloves. We can't touch it with our skin. So the examples of decomposers: some type of bacteria as yogurt bacteria, some types of fungi as yeast fungus and bread mold fungus. And finally, the importance of decomposers. They help us to get rid of organisms, dead and plant remains, due to it decomposing to have food on the dead bodies of plants or animals. And they increase the soil fertility and used in a lot of industries, such as yogurt.